Fuel prices are absolutely through the roof, aren't they? Every time you pull into a servo, it feels like you're playing a losing game. It's a huge chunk out of the weekly budget, and everyone's feeling the pinch. So, what's the solution? Well, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese recently offered some advice that, let's just say, didn't exactly land the way he might have hoped. He suggested carpooling. Yep, sharing a ride to work or school. On the surface, it sounds like a sensible, eco-friendly idea. But when you dig a little deeper, you start to see why so many everyday Australians picked up the phone to talk radio shows and absolutely let loose. Today, we're diving into why this seemingly simple suggestion struck such a nerve and what it reveals about the gap between political advice and real-world life. Stick around, because this conversation gets interesting. So let's set the scene. The cost of living is a hot topic. Groceries, rent, mortgages, and of course, petrol. Prices are climbing, and families are genuinely struggling to make ends meet. In this climate, people are looking to their leaders for real, tangible solutions. They're hoping for policies that will ease the financial pressure. It's against this backdrop that the Prime Minister was asked about the soaring cost of fuel. His response included a mention of carpooling as one way for people to save money. He framed it as a practical, common-sense measure. The idea is straightforward. If 4 people who live near each other and work in the same area all drive separately, they're paying for 4 tanks of fuel. If they carpool, they share the cost of 1. It reduces traffic, it's better for the environment, and it saves everyone money. In a perfect world, it's a win-win. But we don't live in a perfect world, do we? And that's exactly where the backlash began. Almost immediately, the talkback radio lines lit up. Caller after caller phoned in, not just to disagree, but to express a deep sense of frustration. It wasn't just about carpooling. It was about feeling misunderstood by the people in power. The first wave of callers pointed out the sheer impracticality of the suggestion for millions of Australians. Take tradies, for example. A plumber or an electrician can't exactly carpool. They need their van or ute packed with tools and supplies. They're not just going from point A to point B. They're often heading to multiple job sites throughout the day, all over the city. A caller named Dave, a carpenter, summed it up perfectly. He said, "How am I supposed to fit my saws, my ladders, and 3 other blokes in a Corolla? It's just not possible. We need our own vehicles to do our jobs." Then you have the parents, especially mothers, who are often the masters of complex logistical operations. One caller, Sarah, a mom of 3, painted a vivid picture. Her morning involves dropping one child at daycare, another at primary school in a different suburb, and then racing to her part-time job, only to do the whole thing in reverse in the afternoon, with a stop for groceries and maybe foodie practice thrown in. Her schedule is a finely tuned, chaotic ballet. The idea of coordinating that with another family's equally complex schedule? It's not just difficult. It's a logistical nightmare. She said, "Does he think we all just drive from our quiet suburban street straight to a city office? My car is my command center. Carpooling would add an hour of stress to my day, if it even worked at all." These calls highlighted a fundamental disconnect. The suggestion assumes a simple, linear commute that just doesn't exist for a huge number of people. Beyond the logistical hurdles, another major theme emerged from the callers: the issue of personal time and flexibility. We live in a world where work hours are no longer strictly 9 to 5. Many people work late, start early, or have jobs with unpredictable schedules. A nurse named Michelle called in and explained that her shifts can finish at 11 p.m. She asked, "Who is going to carpool with me at that time of night? Am I supposed to wait around for an hour at a dark hospital car park for a ride? It's not safe, and it's not practical." Her point resonated with many. Carpooling ties you to someone else's schedule. What if you need to leave work early because your child is sick? What if you have to stay back an extra hour to finish a project? That freedom to adapt is crucial, and for many, it's a non-negotiable part of their day. Giving that up isn't a small sacrifice. It's a major loss of autonomy. The suggestion felt like it was trivializing the value of people's time and their need for independence. The backlash also tapped into a deeper feeling that the government isn't addressing the root cause of the problem. People aren't upset about the idea of saving money. They're masters of that already. They're clipping coupons, cutting back on luxuries, and doing everything they can. They're frustrated because they feel like they're being handed Band-Aid solutions for a gaping wound. Instead of tackling the big issues like fuel excise, inflation, or Australia's reliance on global oil markets, the responsibility was being shifted back onto the individual. A caller named Mark put it bluntly. Don't tell me to find a friend to drive with. Do your job and find a way to lower the price at the pump. That's what we elected you for. This sentiment was echoed over and over. It felt like a deflection. People wanted to hear about economic strategy and policy decisions, not a tip they could have gotten from a lifestyle blog. It came across as patronizing, as if the public hadn't already thought of every possible way to cut costs. This kind of advice often gets labeled as Canberra bubble thinking. It's a phrase used to describe politicians and their advisors who are seen as being out of touch with the daily realities of the people they represent. Politicians often have drivers, or they live close to Parliament House. Their daily commute and lifestyle are vastly different from that of a factory worker in Western Sydney or a farmer in regional Queensland. When they offer advice like, just carpool, it reinforces the perception that they don't understand the grind of everyday life. One caller from a regional town had a particularly sharp take. He said, carpool with who? My nearest neighbor is 5 kilometers away and he's a sheep farmer who works on his own property all day. The nearest town is a 30-minute drive. This advice is for city people by city people. They've forgotten about the rest of us. It highlights how one-size-fits-all solutions from the top down completely fail to account for the diversity of Australian life. This whole episode serves as a powerful lesson in political communication. When people are hurting financially, they need to feel that their leaders understand the depth of their problem. They need empathy, first and foremost. They want to see that the government is working on large-scale structural solutions. Offering small-scale personal tips, no matter how well-intentioned, can backfire spectacularly if it's not paired with a clear and credible plan to address the bigger picture. It's the difference between saying, "We understand this is tough, and here's our multi-pronged strategy to tackle inflation and fuel costs," versus simply saying, "Have you tried sharing a ride?" One shows leadership and understanding. The other can come across as a complete cop-out. Ultimately, the torrent of calls whacking the carpooling suggestion was about more than just transport logistics. It was a raw, unfiltered expression of public sentiment. It was about the gap between policy and people, between Parliament House and the suburban street. It was a cry for leaders to step out of the theoretical world of economic models and into the messy, complicated, and challenging reality that everyday Australians navigate. The message from the public was loud and clear. We're doing our part. We're juggling, we're struggling, and we're adapting. We need you to do your part too. Give us real policies, real relief, not just friendly advice that misses the mark. This is a conversation that goes far beyond cars and fuel. It's about trust, respect, and the fundamental relationship between a government and its people. Thanks so much for tuning in to hear this breakdown. It's a fascinating look at how a small comment can reveal so much. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories making headlines. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Is carpooling a realistic option for you? Why or why not? Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.